feel of who's going to be talking today. So direct your eyes to the screen. Get hyped up for your TED Talkers today.
I'm Ellie, and let's discuss looking past expectations and seeing people as they really are.
I'm Elliot, and I'm going to share with you the benefits of fear-inducing activity.
I'm Emery. Do you want to be popular?
My name's Ethan, and I'm going to be talking about how even though ADHD is a disorder, it can also be your greatest strength.
My name is Savannah, and I'll be telling you how to be your strongest self by being your realest self.
My name is Ezra, and I'm going to be talking about the art of being an amateur and how your hobbies can become your greatest strength.
I'm Sydney, and I'm talking about the house trust model and how love is an open door.
We'll be seeing you at Tedtalk.
All right, who's stoked? Who's stoked to hear some TED Talks? All right, so we have our first speaker up today, Ellie Frainer. I hope I said that right, Ellie. But Ellie is a comm major with an emphasis in digital and social media. She's from Nevada and loves pretty much everything except for styrofoam, which is kind of interesting to me, but she hates styrofoam. Everyone give it up for Ellie Frainer!
Your broken heart and your hope is gone. I'll be holding on again.
Awesome. Have you ever judged a book by its cover? Or have you ever made an assumption about someone that caused you to take a step back from them and not create a relationship with them? I know that I myself have done both of these things before. I met one of my best friends 3 years ago. We were serving as missionaries for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Cincinnati, Ohio. We spent about 12 weeks together, and these were some of the best 12 weeks of my whole mission. She became one of my best companions and one of my best friends. And to this day, we're still so close. The time we spent together, we created this relationship founded on love and care and trust, and we were able to grow together and learn so much together. Believe it or not, after what I've explained about this relationship, you may not believe that our first few days were pretty rocky. I had started by making a few assumptions, which caused me to take a step back from this girl that I would be spending the next 6 to 12 weeks with. I was full of fear for the time that we were going to spend together. I was scared of her, and I was scared of what was going to come in these next 6 to 12 weeks. But through time, me and my friend were able to learn how to put aside our assumptions and create this connection and this friendship. And that's what I want to talk with you about today. We often live behind a curtain of assumptions, but it's really important that we learn how to pull back that curtain and make space for connection to be made and to see people as they really are. Robert Lauer wrote a book called Marriage and Family: The Quest for Intimacy. And in this book, he teaches us about the importance and the need for intimacy. And he walks us through a few questions to help each of us understand that. And I want to walk you through some of them today. The first question I want you to think about is to imagine an experience that you've had with a family member, a friend, a lover, spouse, and think about a joyous experience with them. What did that experience look like? Now that you've probably thought of that experience, what feelings would you describe, or what feelings are attached to this experience? I'm sure it's something along the lines of love or laughing, excitement, happiness, caring, trust, something along those lines. Which helps us learn from these experiences that we've thought of that personal relationships are crucial to our well-being. It's a basic need that each of us have as human beings, to have that intimacy in our lives. Often, when we think of the word intimacy, I'm sure most of us just think of the physical aspect of intimacy, which is very important, but there's so much more to it. We still need that social intimacy and that emotional intimacy in our life. When looked up on Google, the definition for intimacy is a close familiarity or friendship. And some other words often used is togetherness or attachment. Now, when we learn this definition of intimacy, we can learn that it's much more than just those physical needs, but it's also the emotional needs. We need that connection, that friendship, and that familiarity with people around us in order to fulfill our needs for intimacy. Now, remember how I asked about that joyous experience? I want you to put that to the side, and I want you to think about an experience of when you walked into a room full of people you didn't know. Whether it be walking into this theater today, walking into a new class of the semester, a new job, or even a new ward. It's a room full of people that you don't know. I'm sure each of us have had an experience like that. And so think about the feelings attached to this experience. They're probably something along the lines of being scared or feeling alone. Robert Lauer teaches in his book that loneliness is a serious problem. It's often one that's not talked about enough. It's something that we like to keep to ourselves. And I'm sure each of you at some point in your life or the people around you have experienced this feeling of loneliness. Loneliness is much more than just being trapped in your bedroom alone. Sometimes loneliness looks a lot more like this. You're surrounded by many people, but yet you still feel alone. Now, we know that loneliness is a serious problem, and people are struggling with it all the time. And because of loneliness, not only is it affecting us mentally, but it's affecting us physically. When we have these feelings of loneliness, it causes a spike in our cortisol. When we have these large amounts of cortisol being produced in our body, it causes different physical negative health effects like sleep disturbances, stress, anxiety, weight gain, and many more. And it's important that we're learning how to get over these feelings of loneliness and trying to find connection in our life to help cure that. And we can help put these feelings of loneliness to the side when we are trying to create interpersonal relationships. Interpersonal relationships are relationships where there is a bond or connection within. These are relationships that are built on trust or growth and love. I like to think a lot about my friend, like I was telling you guys about. We had created an interpersonal relationship. There was trust and there was growth within this relationship. And when we strive to create these interpersonal relationships, we are able to throw those feelings of loneliness to the side, and we can fulfill our need for intimacy and connection. But what's stopping each of us from having those interpersonal relationships that we crave? What's stopping us from getting the things that we need both mentally and physically? And one of those things is assumptions. The Neural Launch team said, assumptions are beliefs we hold to be true without concrete evidence or conscious examination. Our brains are such powerful tools. We are constantly receiving information every second of the day, and our brain is trying to just sort it out and put it where it needs to go. And so often, assumptions are made without us even realizing it. Our brain, because we're receiving so much information, tends to take the information we're taking as a mental shortcut. And that mental shortcut are the assumptions that we're making. And we're not only just making assumptions about the people around us, but we're constantly making assumptions about new foods we're about to try, watching a new movie, or reading a new book. These assumptions are constantly rolling in our head, and they're just a way for our brain to protect ourselves and to make sense of things. Now, we're going to flash back to the story with my friend. It took a few days, about a week, for us to really understand that the assumptions that I had made about my friend were completely false. I had taken the time to get to know her and educate myself, and I found out that we had a lot more in common. We were able to create a connection, and I've come up with 6 different ways that we can access that connection in our lives. First is awareness. Each of us need to learn how to be self-aware. And now, this is a lot easier said than done, but when we are self-aware of our thoughts, we can kind of pick out when those assumptions are made. We can grab those assumptions and put them to the side. So it's super important that we're being self-aware of our thoughts when we're communicating with people and getting to know others. Next is challenge. We can challenge our assumptions. Like we learned from the Neural Launch team, assumptions are merely just beliefs we hold to be true, but they aren't based on fact. They're not based on any evidence. They're simply just a mental shortcut our brain has made. We need to challenge these assumptions to see if they were true. Like with my friend, a lot of the assumptions I made were all false. And so it's important that we challenge those and put them to the test. Next is commonalities. We've all heard the expression that opposites attract, which I'm sure for maybe some people it works. But based on science and what we see more often is that commonalities tend to bring us together. When we can relate with another person, it brings more connection to our relationship. And so as we seek out those commonalities, we can create a more intimate and interpersonal relationship. Next is educate. Like I said, these assumptions are not fact-based. It's important that we take the time to educate ourselves on other people and to understand their life story and their side of the story. When we educate ourselves on them, we can find more connection. Next is stay present. It's important that when we're sitting one-on-one with someone, getting to know them, that we stay present in the moment. It's super easy when our thoughts are rolling and we're having all these different thoughts about this individual to focus on those. But it's important that we lay those thoughts and those assumptions to the side and stay present in the moment and focus on the individual. Last but not least is serving. Service has brought me more joy in my life than anything else. And I know that I've made more connections because of service. Most of us are probably in a ward where we're assigned ministering brothers or sisters, and often we don't know them. But that's where I've been able to make more connections in my church and in my ward is by serving others. When I serve them, I'm able to get to know them and make connections with them. And it's a way for you to just show their love to them. Now, I know that practicing these 6 things, like I said, it's a lot easier said than done. But I know that they can help us lay aside our assumptions and access that connection that each of us crave and each of us need. I know that as we practice these 6 things, that each of us can expand our social circles. Each of us can find the intimacy that we need, and I know that you will be able to find the connection that you need in your life. Let's take those assumptions and pull back that curtain and make way for real connection to be made and to see people as they really are. Thank you.